U.G. Krishnamurti. So what was U.G. Krishnamurti's trip? Well, from a very early age, he wondered about enlightenment, and he wondered about how to attain it. And apparently he spent 49 years in pursuit of this enlightenment, or at least, up until the age of 49. He said that he tried every way imaginable to attain enlightenment. And then he had this sort of like eureka moment of some sort, or maybe stages of eureka moment, when he was 49, where he realized that the thing that was preventing him from enlightenment was the search itself. And he said this caused a calamity of his consciousness, so that it's almost sort of a disassociation thing, that he was no longer able to identify any thoughts as his thoughts, any actions as his actions. He basically saw himself or felt himself as simply some sort of neutral witness. So he gave this example, and I'm sure you can see this on YouTube, the same video I saw. He gave this example where, with this sort of empty witness type of consciousness, he can look at a clock on the wall and look at it in wonder and not give a damn about what time it says. And if you were to ask him what the time was, he said it's like coming out of him. It's like an arrow coming out from the background of himself. And he could answer immediately, it's 3:15, if that's what time it was. So he didn't understand the self, and he didn't understand where the arrow was coming from. Do you dig what I'm saying? The man took his fucking journey, took his enlightenment trip, said he tried every way imaginable to attain enlightenment. Well, in all the years that I've been listening off and on to just spontaneously and sporadically to U.G. Krishnamurti lectures, I've never heard him mention trying psychedelics. I'm not sure. He may have. I mean, magic mushrooms were around back in his day. Back in, the first 49 years of his life, there were magic mushrooms around. There were cultures, there were societies, there was schools of higher consciousness and so forth that existed. He would have, it was available. Magic mushrooms were available. LSD was available. Mescaline was available. And I just get the impression, based simply on what I've heard sporadically and spontaneously over the years, that he didn't try psychedelics. He didn't want to smoke. He didn't want to drink. I don't think he tried drugs. I don't think he had any curiosity about them. Although you'd think he would have, being a sincere seeker on the path of enlightenment. He would have certainly heard about mushrooms, psilocybin. So anyways, now on the one hand, his eureka moment at the age of 49, and realizing that the thing that was preventing his enlightenment was the continual, perpetual search for it. And he realized that he somehow realized that he was but a witness and simultaneously a participant in this life, in this world, but that he had no control over his thoughts. I think that's why he said, they weren't his thoughts, because he couldn't control them. And I think he realized as well, in trying to modify his behavior or so forth on the path of enlightenment, he must have realized, as many do eventually, that he can't control his behavior. So he can learn all these wonderful, profound things, but when it gets down to it, when you're in the sticky ickiness of interactions with other human beings that are getting on your fucking tits, rubbing you the wrong way, nagging you, or accusing you, or whatever the fuck, and you lose your temper, that's not so holy and enlightened, is it? And it's not evidence of control. So here's the thing. It's groovy that he realized that it's up to each individual when to call off the search and when to consider yourself enlightened. Why would you take anybody else's fucking word for it? You really can't. Not if you're honest. Not if you don't want to bullshit yourself. Why would you take anyone else's word for it as to when you're enlightened, or, you realize it's a very personal, intimate thing that nobody can tell you. It's nobody's business either, really. Even if they make it their business, it's still not their business, and they're still in no position to tell you whether you are or you aren't, unless you put them in that position. You grant them the power of that position, and you heed what they say, but eventually you realize that you can't go by what anyone else says. And I think UG saw that in himself, that he couldn't be whatever the so-called gurus and teachers insisted that he must be to properly be on the path, or to properly experience enlightenment. He must have realized, those guys are full of shit, and so if people come to me and treat me like a fucking guru, well, I gotta tell them, I gotta tell them, you're not gonna learn anything from me. Your life's not gonna change because of anything I say here. So, the thing about UG is, even though his eureka moment was valid, authentic, and made good sense, to realize the thing that's preventing me from being enlightened is this continual, perpetual search for enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? What is it? What do you think it is? What do you think it's going to grant you? You think it's going to grant you some kind of special powers? Going to be able to heal the blind? Going to be able to heal someone's cancer? Going to be able to heal your own cancer? You think it's going to give you special power over will? You'll be able to will people like Obi-Wan Kenobi? These are not the drones you're looking for. These are not the drones you're looking for. So, basically, UG did not take his journey to the nth degree. Meaning, because of his for whatever reason, his refusal to go the psychedelic route and make a connection with higher states of consciousness, he called off the search before then. So that's why he can't explain to you, where this arrow comes from. Instead, he wants to try to explain things via some kind of world mind. Again, do you see how people just beat around the bush in this life? They want to call it the world mind. They want to call it the Heavenly Father. They want to call it the Holy Mother. They want to call it Gia, Gaia, Gaia, Maya, Mua, Mua, Rua, Bua. They want to call it this kind of God, that kind of God. They want to call it the universal life force. They want to call it source. They want to call it the all great benefactor vibe. They, all these fucking words. And really, it's just all beating around the bush. And that if any of you motherfuckers gave it as much thought as I had given it over all these years, you would be able to boil it down to perfect, eternal, conscious energy. Perfect, eternal, conscious energy. So if UG had an experience with psychedelics, he would have realized that this was a dream. And that indeed, there's nothing you can do or not do, think or not think, say or not say, that's going to prevent pain and suffering throughout your life from the cradle to the grave, because you designed this dream. Why would you want to blame your life on something else? Someone else, something else? Doesn't make any sense. Why would anything else want to give a fuck about you? It's got its own self to give a fuck about. Doesn't need to worry about you. So because Yuji didn't go to psychedelics, didn't have a breakthrough with higher states of consciousness, this is why his lectures attract attention on YouTube, because half of what he is saying is, for lack of a better way of putting it, correct. He's correct. There is no enlightenment that's going to save you. And I think he implored you to ask yourself, what the fuck do you think enlightenment is? What do you think it's for? And what do you think it is that's stopping you from being that now? What do you think you have to do in order to arrive at that place that you're supposedly headed towards? So, he was correct in pointing out that, there really, the only enlightenment is that there is no enlightenment. That there is no magic power, there is no secret cheat codes. That you are here to live the life that is unfolding and unfurling before you. He didn't say it that way. He didn't say the unfolding and unfurling because he didn't have an idea about destiny, and he didn't have an idea about perfect eternal conscious energy. He didn't have the idea that he was actually a perfect spirit who designed and scripted the life of Yuji Krishnamurti. Instead, all he did was he just tried to be as factual and realistic as possible by pointing out that, he had this sense of self, if you will, that he was just this hollow, neutral witness to this thing that he was known to be, Yuji Krishnamurti, and he just tried to speak as rationally, clearly, factually as he fucking could. But like I said, then every once in a while there's these little flickers of things, world mind. There's no world mind, motherfuck. World mind, like it's some brain, some invisible brain in the sky that's controlling everything. It's just a very dull, primitive way of. If he was more sophisticated, he would have realized that it's not some kind of invisible brain in the world, that it is perfect eternal conscious energy, that every living being is actually a perfect eternal thinking, feeling entity, otherwise known as a perfect spirit, and that it planned out this life for itself in every detail, that it had eternity, it had unlimited time to script out this story to the nth degree, to every little detail. And because of that, there is no particular way that you can think or not think, do or not do, be or not be, that's going to prevent you from suffering off and on throughout your life from the cradle to the grave. And so really, what do you want enlightenment for? That's what you wanted enlightenment for. You wanted enlightenment because you wanted peace of mind. You can't help it. You're hungry for fucking peace. You're tired of being angry, tired of losing your fucking rag, tired of being pissed off, tired of being the angry young shithead. And you want some peace of mind. And you hear about this stuff called spirituality. You hear this stuff called meditation and yoga and Zen and a new way of thinking and being, so that you don't have to, experience these moods and these ups and downs. And you go and you pursue that stuff. And each one that you pursue, each school of thought, each new idea, it has a sort of honeymoon period that comes with it, where you actually feel good, you feel uplifted, you feel excited that you're trying on new ideas, new perspectives, new attitudes. And the thing is these fucking things wear off, as all honeymoons do. And there's no wrong way to dream a dream. A dream is a dream is a dream. So it doesn't matter who seems to be waking up within the dream, they're still just dreamers, dreaming that they're waking up, but they're still just dreamers. I've said this in about 5 videos so far. I'll probably say it in videos for the rest of my life. But, I'm sure you can relate to the fact that I have had in my life, I have gone to sleep in my bed, had a dream where in the dream I was in a restaurant or a diner and I laid my head down on the table and went to sleep and had a dream. I've had dreams where in the dream I swore that I was wide awake, that I wasn't dreaming. That this was the real life, this was the real world. I made it back. I made it back to Hollywood, Maryland. Made it back to this beautiful, beautiful, one-of-a-kind house. Well, actually one of 2 in the world. This is it. This is definitely not a dream. This is the real thing. I fucking made it. Only to wake up in my bed and go, fuck. I was so convinced it was real. I was so convinced it wasn't a dream. And yet I have to admit, in hindsight, I didn't do any tests in the dream. The tests are any kind of communicative device. It doesn't work properly in a sleep dream. Whether you're using a fax machine, a mobile phone, your landline telephone, a walkie-talkie, a CB radio, it just doesn't work properly in your sleep dreams. Also, words don't remain stable if they make sense at all. The words on a sign, the words on a letter, the words in a book, they either don't make sense or they don't stay the same for more than a second. Nor does any object. If you focus on any object in one of your sleep dreams, it begins to morph. It'll remain stable for about a second or so, and then it suddenly just becomes something else, or you seem to notice that, oh my goodness, this tree that I'm looking at, it's made out of alligators, living alligators, that are lined up vertically and just have the color of bark or whatever. Fuck me. So the point is, as perfect eternal conscious energy, we have nothing better to do with our consciousness than to dream these dreams and to plan them out first. And the object is to forget our home state of awareness. Yep. You can call it heaven if you want. I like to call it reality heaven. It's more specific. Reality heaven, there is nothing to do there except dream dreams. Other than that, there's rest and peace. If you're not scripting out a dream that you will eventually incarnate into, then you are incarnated in a dream. And if you're not scripting or you're not dreaming, then you are resting in conscious peace, where you do not have to think anything, you do not have to feel anything, there's no obligations, there's no responsibilities, you don't have anything to maintain, you do not have to maintain your consciousness, you do not have to maintain your sobriety or your sanity, you do not have to maintain the fact that you are a being of light. That light is eternal conscious energy. You are a unique gem, a unique sparkle of light. That's what you look like. You never move. Where are you going to move to? There's nothing to move. Reality heaven is static. It's static. It's known. There's not much to know there. What more is there to know? Other than the fact that you are perfect eternal conscious energy, that you are unthreatenable, that you don't have to do anything to be alive, and that you've always been alive and always will be alive. That you are perfectly equal and equally perfect to all other points of light, points of consciousness. You're all perfectly equal and equally perfect. There's nothing you can take from each other. There's nothing you could want from each other. And the only things that you have available to you in reality heaven is to rest in peace, or to spend unlimited time scripting a story and a dream world, and or living that dream in that dream world. That's all that's available in reality heaven. So the object is, if you're going to dream, the object is to forget reality heaven, to forget that you are perfect eternal conscious energy. And because you've scripted it and planned it, at the point of the Big Bang, that caused the unpacking, the unfolding, the unfurling process. So life itself is not biology. Life itself is consciousness. Consciousness, along with biology, unfolds and unfurls moment to moment. You didn't have to think about growing from a baby to a toddler, from a toddler to a little child, from a child to an adolescent. You didn't have to think about any of that, did you? It all just happened automatically. Well, so do your thoughts, so does your development, so does the evolution of your psychological beingness as a human being. It all unfolds and unfurls. Nothing's really being generated at all. So the object is to forget reality heaven. It's not that I have necessarily remembered all of this stuff. It's just that it's all... Consciousness is logic and reason. Spiritual consciousness is logic and reason. It is logic and reason based. That's just a human language. That's what I'm saying. That's the way it is. And life itself is thinking and feeling. It's not biology. Life itself is perfect eternal conscious energy. Our home state of awareness is reality heaven. When we are not dreaming, we are aware of our home state of awareness. It is complete sobriety, complete sanity. And there's not much to know there. That's why it's very peaceful. It's not complex. Only dreams contain complexity. Reality has no complexity. That's the charm in dreams of having complexity. Because in reality, there is no fucking complexity. Another charm of dreams is that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Whereas reality has no beginning or end. It has always existed. There is this idea, if I can conceive it as a human, then it certainly exists as a spiritual idea, of being crushed by eternal boredom. You can't. You're being eternal, you cannot be crushed or destroyed or threatened by boredom, but there is boredom. And the opposite of boredom is creation. If you're bored, get creative. When you're bored, got nothing to do, you create something. And so we do eventually get bored in our home state of awareness. I'm sure there's no measurement of time in reality heaven. But there is time. But there's no measurement. There's no need to measure. So that's why I say that you have unlimited time to take as much time as you want to script out a dream. And as I was going to say, there's no particular common or what have you amount of time that anyone rests in peace between dreams. It's all relative to subjective interpretation. It's all relative to the subjective entity, We are all subjective in as much as we are all individually unique configurations of perfect eternal conscious energy. So each of us does have a personality, but the personality is made out of all that is available to everyone else as spirits. Do you understand? So I don't know if your human mind can handle that or not. I don't have any problem handling it. That reality heaven is both objective and subjective. The objective part are all the truths that never change. The fact that our reality, our home state of awareness, it never changes. The fact that we as entities never change. We are always perfect eternal conscious energy. There's nothing we can do to threaten that. There's nothing we can do to diminish it. There's nothing we can do to improve it. And yet each of us is a unique point of being. Each of us is a unique opinion, a unique thought, a unique angle, a unique person. So all the living beings here are perfect eternal conscious energy. They're perfect spirits. They could have chosen to be humans. They didn't. They chose to be worms. They chose to be dandelions. They chose to be badgers and wolverines and barracuda. I say we have a bit of a drink and a couple of tokes. Is that all right? So if you want to go take a piss for a couple of minutes, or you want to join us, that'd be groovy. So yeah, it looks to me like UG had no patience for psychedelics. So what was UG's contribution? What was his, what's the value? Just that he was, seemingly quite consistent. Certainly over the last, 3 or 4 decades of his life, he seemed to be pretty consistent about this idea that there is no enlightenment, and that the pursuit for enlightenment, that the pursuit of self-improvement was a folly. And basically just a business and an industry for lots of people. But the reason why you watch him and you feel like you half get what he's fucking saying or where he's coming from, and you half can't quite fucking follow him, well, that's the reason. He didn't go the whole hog. He didn't go to psychedelics. He did not experience a higher state of consciousness. His calamity, that he called it, which was what I call his eureka, may have exposed him to states of consciousness that were higher than his normal state of consciousness, but not necessarily the full hog cosmic consciousness, because if he had experienced cosmic consciousness, he would have realized that this was a dream, and that he was a dreamer, and that everyone else was a dreamer, and that everyone had predestined the dream, and that's why there were 10,000 different fucking schools of spiritual and enlightenment, every one of them purporting to be the sole one, the right one, the correct one. All the others are full of shit. all the other ones are halfway there, or all the other ones are sort of there, but no, we're the right school. Because if there was any true enlightenment needed, every being would know it within themselves. They wouldn't need to be told about it. They wouldn't need books about it. So, had he gone the whole hog, had he had an experience with cosmic states of consciousness, he would have realized that this was a dream, that everyone's dreaming, that everyone predestined their dream, that there's no such thing as a wrong dream, that a dream is a dream is a dream, no matter how successful anyone is or how colossal of a failure they are. A dream is a dream is a dream. As that old Rizla pack of cigarette paper said, when the game is over, both the king and the pawns go back in the same box. Here's to UG for being real. Right on, UG. That was Mark Bonilla on guitar. I believe this song is called Slaughter on Memory Lane. Or maybe it's Memory on Slaughter Lane, I can't remember. But it's a great album. It's so far been the best album that he's released. And this was released around 1991 or so. Mark Bonilla. That's Bonilla. Looks like Bonilla, but apparently is pronounced Bonilla. Yeah, UG Krishnamurti. Well, there you go. He didn't take it all the way. That was his story. That was his script. So I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he didn't go all the way. And that's why you have that sense. You have that sense that you can half get what he's fucking saying, and yet half of it is just, I don't know, it's vapors, it's murky, it doesn't really, make sense to you, and that's why those people, that's why they keep coming back to him. That's why they're still in the audience time and time again after he tells them, I can't tell you anything to save you from yourself. I can't tell you anything that's going to give you enlightenment. I can't tell you anything that's going to improve your life or yourself or anything. And yet they keep coming back. And the reason why he couldn't give them the fucking whole hog is because he hadn't gone the whole hog. He was satisfied with where he ended up. He was satisfied with this awareness that there's this silent witness and there's this participant. And like I said, this if all you do is identify with the silent witness, then yeah, I guess this self, this vanity, this person called U.G. Krishnamurti is gonna seem like some kind of foreign object. But see, he didn't bother. If he had gone into higher states of consciousness, he would have found out why. Why does this exist? Why is there this silent witness? Why is there this participant named U.G. Krishnamurti? And he would have got beyond the idea of a world mind. A world mind is just some sort of atheistic subterfuge. It's just a substitute fucking word for God, isn't it? World mind. It's just like saying universal life force, the universal force. Well, you're mincing words, fuck face. You're still talking about a puppet master intelligence. You're talking about some puppet master intelligence that you aren't, that created you, and that it either is or isn't in charge of your fucking existence. Why would it give you fucking existence but what, on the condition that it's going to judge you? How could you ever fall out of favor with that thing if it created you? Why would it create something that it could be ashamed of? Why would it have any sense of fucking shame at all? But yeah, so there you go. So UG was right about that, the end of enlightenment is when you realize that there is no enlightenment, that it's just a perpetual folly, that it's a load of shit. And then it's also when you realize, why you even were seeking enlightenment in the first place. You realize that it was indeed a folly. Your whole search for spiritual enlightenment began as a folly. It began exactly the same way that it begins for people who wonder, is there a secret way to win the lottery jackpot? And so there's people on YouTube that will tell you how to win the lottery jackpot. They haven't won the fucking lottery jackpot. They've won all kinds of little fucking $50 and $500 and $5,000 prizes or whatever, but they've not won the, $36 million fucking jackpot or the $360 million jackpot. But anyways, so people, pursue that. That, is there a way? Is there a way to cheat the lottery? Is there a way to beat the lottery? And that's all they're doing with the whole spiritual improvement trip. They're thinking, well, maybe I don't have peace of mind because I'm on the wrong side of God. And then maybe if they get beyond that puppet master God shit, then they still think, well, maybe the reason why I still suffer and get bad moods and get irritable and get angry and lose my temper and act completely unholy, maybe there's, a way to think or be or to believe or to understand or to know so that I can prevent that from happening. So the longer you're on the trip, the more likely it is that you will eventually realize that there is no way of thinking or not thinking, being or not being, doing or not doing, that's going to prevent you from being an asshole from time to time or from assholeish things happening to you. There's the hammer and the nail. You have scheduled times in your fucking destiny when you are going to be the nail. And you have scheduled times in your destiny when you're going to be the hammer. And for some of us, it hurts us more to be the hammer than it does to be the nail. And for others, clearly, it hurts them more to be the fucking nail than it is the hammer. But there's no wrong way to dream a dream. We all knew what we were getting into. We all collaborated and colluded with each other, including the very fucking bugs that you step on and you don't even realize you stepped on them. You guys made a deal in reality heaven before the Big Bang that you were going to step on him or her or it without even knowing it. But that's how it destined its death. Joe Blow was going to step on me on the 2nd of August, 2019. That's just, So, right on for U.G. Krishnamurti. It's amazing he lived as long as he did. It's amazing that he was considered a guru his entire life, even though he talked against it his entire life, even though he showed up for the fucking talks his entire fucking life. If you don't want to be a fucking guru, if you've got nothing to teach these people, why don't you go and fucking, join the fucking Ford company? Well, sorry about that. I had to pause it. And I had to take off my shirt. It was getting too hot. But I do remember where I left off. I was talking about U.G. Krishnamurti, and I was saying, if he didn't want to be perceived as a guru, why keep showing up for these fucking meetings? Was he making a living? Is that how he paid his travel expenses and his food expenses and his lodging expenses? Or did he live from an inheritance his entire life? I don't know. I don't know what the facts are, but again, I ask you, if he was not in, even if it was his way of making a living, if it was something he did not enjoy, if he did not enjoy telling people that, you're looking to me for answers that I can't give you, that, whatever I say is not going to set you free from whatever you want to be free from. If he didn't want to make a living from that, he could have found something else. And if he was wealthy enough to not have to make a living, again, if he did not enjoy sitting in front of people being perceived as a guru who says he's not a guru, then why keep showing up? He showed up all the way to his fucking deathbed. At his deathbed, he had fucking his followers or whatever the fuck they thought they were. Maybe they just thought they were friends or fans, friends, fans, I don't know. But why keep showing up? So, if he had nothing to teach, then, like I say, why not go work at a Ford factory? Why not go live in a fucking monastery? Why not go live in the south of France or something, or in the Mediterranean, or someplace nice and warm, and and fuck off? Do whatever. What were his interests? I don't know. I don't know what his interests, what his passions were. But why wasn't he doing those instead of sitting in front of people telling them that he had nothing to tell them? Fuck me. You tell me this is not a dream. You tell me this is not a crazy dream. Come on, people. Fuck hell. Of course it's a dream. Am I talking to this thing backwards? I apologize. I had the microphone actually has a back and a front to it. They say, well, that's drugs for you, bitch. That's booze and drugs for you, child. Right, well, let's wrap this video up so we can make the next one. It's been quite a few days since we've made any videos. Although every day we're chomping at the bit to make them, but when it comes time and it's not actually time to do it, it's like sitting on the toilet expecting to shit and nothing comes out. So it feels good to be sort of back in the saddle here making videos for the moment. I've been your host, Alexander T. Newport. I am your Philobabblist Extraordinaire. I have books for sale at Amazon. You might not think it's meaningful to buy a book or that it doesn't mean anything to me if you do, but it actually does. Every little bit helps. This is a listener-supported video channel and author. Thank you for subscribing, adding it to a playlist, passing links on to other people, sure, go ahead. Because you don't know how long these videos are going to be up. I get weird, man. I get into weird moods where suddenly I'm sort of self-destructive and I delete channels and accounts and so on and so forth. So, yeah.